So, very good morning to all the students. Welcome back again. So, in the previous parts, we had seen the explanation of the chapter 1.2, section 2 of 11th standard English, which is on to the summit we reach at the top by Tenzing, Norway. So, today we shall be seeing the summary of the chapter as it has been a long week, and let us understand. So, the summary of the story is such that the following article describes the action of the historic event of two men reaching the summit of Mount Everest. So, this is actually an article which was taken from Times of India. This is an article, a post of the article from the London Herald. So, you could clearly see. So, it was such a historical event. So, the reaching of Mount Everest, where Tenzing Nagpal and Edmund Hillary created history. This wonderful event took place on 29th of May 1953 as they climbed the tallest peak point, the summit of Mount Everest, which is approximately 28,000 meters above from sea level. So, this venture was an experience of lifetime. His emotions, desires, and faith tested to the limits, says Tenzing in this article. So, when Tenzing was interviewed after this, he told all the things in detail. We have studied about that in the particular chapter and we understood a number of things. So, in short, this summary will help you to understand what did we study exactly in that particular chapter. So, the next part. So, Tenzing is determined to climb the summit today as he and Hillary leaves Camp 9. So, we had started with the beginning of this that Tenzing was determined to climb the summit no matter what happens today. So, he felt like I was to get at the top even if I die today. He wasn't afraid of dying, and he had decided that somehow he was going to reach at the summit. This is what he wanted, this is what everybody wanted. So he started with Hillary. He wanted to reach his goal and nothing else, as he spoke about Hillary being the anchor and both of them switching their places during the climb. So in the first part of the chapter we had discussed these things, that how Tenzing and Hillary both switching their places from leading and seconding, being the anchor, helping his fellow partner up climbing up the mountain and going slowly. So particularly he was carrying four flags, which was the flag of Britain, this is the flag of Britain, United Nations, Nepal, and the fourth flag, that is the flag of India, was his own particular idea, as Colonel Hunt, who was the leader of the expedition, the British expedition. He had given him three flags, which was the flag of Britain, flag of Nepal, and flag of India, and they had to carry these three flags and they had to reach at the top, and after reaching the summit they had to fix the flag there. Okay, so this next flag was the flag of India, which was the idea of Tenzing himself, which in the later part of the lesson which we learn in the later part of this chapter, where Tenzing says that Colonel Hunt didn't know anything about the flag of India. He had carried the flag of India on his own, and when he told Colonel Hunt that he also wanted to plant the flag of India, he was also very happy with his decision. And so Tenzing was carrying the four flags: the flag of Britain, the flag of United Nations, the flag of Nepal, and the flag of India, which he had planned that whenever he would reach the summit, he would tie all the four flags there. Then he narrates how the slopes were steeper towards the top and how they had to move cautiously as they were about 50 to 70 feet away from their goal. So this is a picture of both of them at the closing point of the summit, and we knew that how they had to move, because as they were moving towards their goal, as they were moving towards the top of the summit, the place where they were walking was getting steeper and steeper and narrower, and they had to move really very slowly. They were taking their every step very cautiously, not doing anything foolish or anything in a hurry which could lead in a grave mistake, or something would happen terrible, so nobody would be able to help them. So they were moving cautiously. He also mentions how they were moving with the rope, which they held tight when they were close and loose while they were walking apart. So in if you are into this hiking and trekking and mountaineering kind of thing, then you will know that when your fellow partner is very close to you, you have to hold that rope really very tight, because both of you have to balance each other. If one of you will leave the rope loose, it may disbalance you and you will fall on the either side, and if you are at a greater height, then it could be very dangerous. So he also shares his experience about the rope being so symbolical. The rope here is not the rope which is carrying, but it is the rope of their being a team. This is the rope which symbolizes them as a team. They're working as a team. They weren't thinking about who would step first or second, but only about making it to the top, as there were other things which needed attention. So when a particular person asked him, whom do you think was first, or what were we thinking? So the person who's at the brink of hitting the summit, touching this summit, will not be thinking about who will be first or second. They were together, that means they will reach the summit together. This is what he told the answer, that they wanted to reach at the top together. If there had been a difference of 1000 feet between us, then one could make the claim that he was first, but even then only the man behind him could confirm the distance between the two of them. So this could be only possible if both of them were really distant, at distant places from each other, but we know that they were walking really very close, just a rope between them. So if this could happen, that someone would make a decision that who would be first, that could be done only if they would be really far away from each other. But if you're walking with a person who's together with you, just a few feet away from you, you cannot give the judgment, or you cannot pass this judgment that I was first and you were second, because they remembered that both of them were together in this. So no one was first and no one was second, both of them were first. So later he tells the controversy. When they reached back to the camp, there was a controversy regarding who made it to the first, which was handled quite well. So after they acquired their goal, after they achieved their goal of reaching the summit together, when they returned back to their camps, there was a controversy, and this problem was regarding who made it to the top. Was it Tenzing or was it Hillary? And into this was their Colonel Hunt. This is the picture of all three of them. Colonel Hunt, who was the head of the expedition, leader of the expedition. Then this is Edmund Hillary, and then you have Tenzing Nagpal. So there was a question in a local newspaper that who made it to the top first? Was it Tenzing or was it Edmund? So they all three of them had planned together. Whatever the people were speaking was all rubbish, and nobody was there. Actually, their entire team was there, and there was no cause of telling lies that no, Hillary was first and Tenzing didn't do anything, and there was nothing such. So they came to a decision that we'll write a same statement just in three different versions, and three different versions means they had to given a handwritten statement saying that who reached the first. So all of them had written one statement, and all of them had written it in a different language, but the statement said the same thing. The statement said that we reached the summit almost together, that is Edmund and Tenzing reached the summit almost together. We embraced each other, overjoyed at our success. When I took photograph of Tenzing holding aloft the flags of Great Britain, Nepal, United Nations and India. So this is the picture, actually this is the picture of Tenzing holding the flags. You cannot see his face because it's a very old picture, and this is what all of them said together in one tone, that when we reached the summit together, we embraced, we hugged each other together, we were so overjoyed. And then Hillary took a photo of Tenzing holding the flags of Great Britain, Nepal and United Nations and India. So this was the final thought which was spoken out by Edmund. Then finally he speaks about his faith family he had in him, as they had offered some precious items to him. So he, being a Buddhist person, he had to offer some things. His family had given him some things, very precious items which they carried to offer to the mountain when they would reach the top. The moment he would cease his desire, he offered his prayers and those items, a blue pencil which was given to him by his younger daughter, then biscuits and candy. So being a Buddhist, he had to offer a prayer by kneeling down, but he couldn't because of his heavy gear. So some of us, being Hindus or Muslims or Christians or even Buddhists, we have to offer our prayer. It's the order of faith. it is something that we do. So being a Buddhist, he had to offer a prayer and offer those precious items to the summit, to the mountain, for a safe journey, and he had brought a number of things. So because of his heavy gear, he wasn't able to bow down. So what he did, instead of bowing down, he just offered a prayer silently in his mind. He also recalls wearing a red scarf. So here the importance of the red scarf in the story or in the article is also very necessary, because this red scarf was given to him by his friend, that also an year ago, whenever they were also trying to conquer the summit, but they couldn't do it. So he was very thirsty but couldn't quench his thirst as the water was frozen. He ate a few biscuits and offered some to Hilary. So after that long journey, or after that long and drastic journey, he was really exhausted and he wanted to drink something, quench his thirst. But unfortunately, being at such a height, the water which he was carrying in the bottle was frozen. So he ate a few biscuits and offered some to Hilary. Then, after waiting for around 15 minutes long, they began their return journey. The return journey was exhausting and they had to proceed slowly and very cautiously, because, as I said, that every step they had to take was to be taken really with caution. If there would be some disaster, then their journey or their expedition would be a total loss. Okay, so they had to come down very slowly. Finally, they moved down safely and met their other team members. They celebrated their victory after failing for 6 times with a tea which had kerosene odor. So, so this is also a similar story where we come to know that they had attempted more than 6 times to conquer the summit, but in the seventh attempt they had done it, and they wanted to celebrate. When they had met their team members, they wanted to celebrate, but unfortunately only tea was available. But because everybody was so much excited about their victory, they had brought a tea which had kerosene smell to it. So I wrote kerosene odor to it. So here, by understanding the entire summary, we come to know about this thing, that the story of Tenzing and Hilary is inspiring for all of us, and it also gives us this message that dream big and never give up. So finally, we have, this is the final thing for you, the British expedition. This is the picture of the 1953 British expedition, where we can say Tenzing is here, Colonel Hunt is here, and behind we can see Edmund Hillary. So this is their entire team which was an involvement in the British expedition. This was not the story only of Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, but also of each and every person who worked as a team and not alone. So here I end the summary of the chapter on the onto the summit we reach at the top by Tenzing Norgay, and in tomorrow's lecture we shall be studying about the brainstorming questions, which are both textual and grammatical.